What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron, and if you're down bad in fantasy football, this is the video for you because today we are going to talk through my 7 sneaky starts and stats for week 3 of the fantasy football season. This is where I talk about my favorite quarterback streamer, tight end streamer, my favorite deep flex plays. We're not going to tell you why Derrick Henry is a must start in week 3, but we're going to go deep into the flex, deep into the running back position, and give you some sneaky plays if you find yourself in a tough spot. But if you're doing fine, your lineup is loaded, you're 2-0, you're crushing it, you can also use this video for DFS, betting, underdog, all of that good stuff and more across the board where you can have fun with this data. How this video is going to work is I'm going to tell you a player, how much I'm higher on than consensus when it comes to that player, and then give you a stat for why that is. As always, if you enjoy, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. And the first player we're going to talk about, and I promise we're going to get much deeper than wide receiver 19. This is the first player we're going to talk about when we get deeper from here. We have one wide receiver that's outside of the top 50 wide receivers in consensus that I actually do like this week. First up is George Pickens as my wide receiver 19 on the road versus Chicago. That is 6 spots higher than consensus. Now, when I say consensus, that is the Fantasy Pros ECR expert consensus rankings database that they have going on there. And George Pickens is my wide receiver 19, which as always you can find over on the Patreon, patreon.com/Ron Stewart. My weekly rankings, my rest of season rankings, my waiver wire article every week is all on there ready to go. If you are looking for, would I start George Pickens versus Terry McLaurin? That is all over there. Now I do want to pull up on the side here just like implied totals and game environment stats for you. But the stat that I came up with for George Pickens is he's just one of 10 wide receivers in 2024 to post 350-plus yards and 2+ yards per out run versus man coverage. This week sets up as a smash spot with Dallas projected for the 3rd most points and the 2nd highest total of the slate. Chicago allows the 2nd most wide receiver points and plays man at the 4th highest rate. The same matchup that gave us Jameson Williams last week. So on the same video last week, we didn't go 100%. We did pretty well, though. We did do pretty well. Quarterback streamer Geno Smith was not good, but Jameson Williams hit. Harold Fannin did okay. I think we had another running back or two that did okay as well in last week's video. But this is just a really good spot for George Pickens. He's opposite CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb is going to take a lot of the attention away. And when we're talking about Chicago, who plays, I think, man coverage like 40% of the time, that's going to free up George Pickens to really operate the way that he does. I believe... No, I was going to say week 1. I think Dallas was playing a lot of zone against Philadelphia, but George Pickens eats against man coverage. So if he can see 40% of his routes against man coverage, last year in a situation that was bad, he still was one of the best wide receivers on a production and efficiency basis against man coverage. And this game should just be fireworks. It has a 50.5 over-under. The only game higher than that is the Baltimore Ravens versus Detroit Lions game happening on Monday Night Football. George Pickens, to me, if he's on your team, he needs to be in the flex spot or the wide receiver spot no matter what this week. Now, after that, we go a little bit deeper to Jauan Jennings. We have Jauan Jennings as my wide receiver 29 at home versus Arizona. I am 5 spots higher than consensus on Jauan Jennings, and the stat for him this week is on 47 routes with Ricky Pearsall and no George Kittle. Jennings has 13 targets compared to 6 for Ricky Pearsall. That is via Rich Rebar. Now, I do want to say, I should have said this at the top, I pull from a lot of different places. I pull from, and I get this question all the time of like, Ron, where are you getting these stats from? I do this for a living, so I get to pay for all these subscriptions and I can justify it. We have PFF. I'll do fantasy points. Fantasy Life's utilization report's really good. This is from Rich Rebar. He does the fantasy worksheet over at Sharp Football Analysis. I use JJ Zacharyason's data dump over on his Patreon. I think that covers most of it. But yeah, there's a lot of good information out there. Like I said, Fantasy Points is one I love. On top of that, you have your PFF, all of that good stuff. They are paid subscriptions, so it's tough to... I get questions of like, Ron, how can I access this data? You got to swipe the credit card. But he draws a Cardinals defense allowing the 13th most wide receiver points despite facing weak passing games in Carolina and New Orleans. So 13th most wide receiver points, but they're allowing the 13th most to... I mean, Ted McMillan's good, but after that, there's nothing. And then New Orleans is like Olave, Rashid Shaheed getting passes thrown from Spencer Rattler. And San Francisco is projected for the 10th most points this week. I just think that the consensus or just like projections in general are lagging behind where Jauan Jennings should be going. Last week had an absolute, I guess you could call it a blow-up game. He looked really good. Mac Jones is also like genuinely capable. At home against an Arizona defense that's not amazing should be a really good spot for him. Jennings in this not exact setup last week, but, alongside Ricky Pearsall, no George Kittle, gave you 19.9 PPR points, 10 targets as well. I think Jauan Jennings is going to feast in this matchup again this week. Then our third sneaky start of the week is Cam Skattebo. It's not super sneaky, and it's not the sexiest matchup on paper, but I do want to give the people the confidence to start Cam Skattebo this week. I'll be starting him in a few places myself, despite not the best matchup on paper versus the Chiefs. But here's the stat this week for my RB29 at home versus the Chiefs on prime time, 4 spots higher than consensus. Last week, in the second half, an OT last week, Cam Skattebo handled 100% of the goal line work and 8 of 12 running back opportunities. The usage is too good not to lock in as a mid to high-end RB3. The matchup versus Kansas City looks tough after the Amari and Hampton game, but this defense actually ranks 25th in rush EPA per play allowed and 31st in rushing success rate. If Andrew Thomas suits up, it's a major boost for the Giants offense. Andrew Thomas at this point is a game-time decision. It looks like he's maybe going to go here. He is their best offensive lineman by far. Last year, he played weeks 1 through 6 when they were 24th in EPA per play. Without him from week 7 on, they were 30th in EPA per play. He is a real boost to this offense anytime he is on the field. And like I kind of pointed out, the Kansas City run defense isn't amazing on a down-to-down basis. Has it been tough for fantasy football? Sure. But in terms of stopping the run, it hasn't been that great. And even still, I just love this Cam Skattebo role where he is getting passing down work. He's getting all of the goal line work. Dable loves him. I think his role only grows. Like, it wouldn't shock me if coming out of this game, he was like at a 60-40 split between him versus Singletary and Tyrone Tracy. And it's just like, okay, this guy's an RB2 rest of season. Like, vault him up to the J.K. Dobbins, Jalen Warren area of like back-end RB2s. I think that he's one really good usage blow-up game away from that being the case. Now, our fourth sneaky start of the week is we're going back to the well. I'm giving you guys the confidence to roll out Harold Fannin again this week. If you were in a tough spot at tight end, we were thinking through Harold Fannin or like Brenton Strange, and you're like, this Packers defense is really tough. I do still absolutely love Harold Fannin Jr. this week. He is my tight end 10 at home versus the Packers. We are 3 spots higher than consensus, and the stat here is against zone coverage. Fannin has 8 catches for 78 yards with a 3.25 yards per out run. No other Cleveland pass catcher is above a 1.5 yards per out run or 50-plus yards versus zone. So just to reiterate that, no other Cleveland pass catcher has 1.5 yards per out run or better or 50-plus receiving yards versus zone. Harold Fannin crushes both of those just by himself, and Green Bay plays zone at the 8th highest rate, and their lone defensive weakness has been against tight ends, allowing the 6th most fantasy points to the position this season. So if you're going to score points against the Packers in fantasy football, it's going to be via the tight end spot. When we look across the board, the Packers are allowing the 6th most fantasy points to tight end, but when we look across the board, they are allowing the 23rd most points to quarterbacks, 28th to running backs, 22nd to wide receivers, and then 6th to tight ends. So not bad at all for Harold Fannin, who gets some manufactured touches. He's going to get involved in the screen game. He might even mess around and get a rush attempt. I was honestly, I'll give a little bonus shout out. I was almost tempted to throw Quinshon Judkins in this video like Cam Skattebo, but running against the Packers is tough. I still think Judkins is a fine start, but he's not like this. I'm right on par with consensus when it comes to Judkins, but I do just want to point out that Judkins against this team, I think he's going to get enough volume to be okay, and maybe he falls in the end zone. Quinshon Judkins is what you are hoping for. Now, this is, again, more of a DFS underdog style play, which, by the way, if you haven't already, check out Underdog. When you play $5, you get $50 when you use promo code RON. Promo code RON, that is. You can find that in the description and the comment section down below. When you click the link, it'll take you to Underdog. It'll use promo code RON. You'll play $5. You'll get $50. There should also be a gimme pick in the Pick'em lobby as well for all new customers using promo code RON. All of that good stuff and more can be found in the comment section and description down below. And what you can do is you go to the Pick'em lobby and you can take a higher on Rashod Bateman. Now, you might look at some of these and be like, oh, +4 versus consensus, okay. But it's tough. Everyone's kind of in line with projections. I'm not going to move him so, like, Rashod Bateman is not a must start. And I will say that's also a PSA with these videos, is do not come to me with, should I play Jameson Williams or Rashod Bateman? Should I play A.J. Brown or Rashod Bateman? Like, no. What I'm saying is if it's like a 16-teamer, 2 wide receiver, 2 flex, or you're down bad, I have one team where it's a 2 wide receiver, 2 flex, and I'm debating between like Josh Downs, Rashod Bateman, and Dontavion Wicks, and I have Lamar Jackson at quarterback. Whole other tangent here, but if you're looking at rankings, first of all, no one has all the answers. So if you're looking at like wide receiver 50, wide receiver 55 versus like wide receiver 58, all those guys are the same dude. All of them are the same dude in a given week. I actually like breaking the tie to just stacking to the quarterback. So in that spot where I'm looking at Josh Downs versus Rashod Bateman, I'm just going to go with Rashod Bateman to Lamar Jackson and just hope that he catches a touchdown pass from Lamar. Now, why I'm playing Rashod Bateman, why I actually kind of like this matchup here is Detroit has allowed the second most explosive pass plays this year, 11.8% of the time, and the 9th most fantasy points to wide receivers, and the highest over-under game of the week at 52.5 points by Vegas. Bateman has a real shot at a deep connection with Lamar Jackson, who leads the NFL with 20.8% of his attempts traveling 20-plus air yards. So Lamar has been a big play hunter. This Detroit Lions defense has been susceptible to the big play, and this should also be an environment and a game script where the Baltimore Ravens don't just lean on Derrick Henry the entire time, and they actually do have to throw it against this team. So I'm very excited about this. I do love Rashod Bateman, whether it's like a higher on receiving yards or for him to catch a touchdown. I could see a Jameson Williams style stat line here of like 3 for 90 and a touchdown for Rashod Bateman. I think I was about to say a very good player. I think that he's an underrated good player in the NFL. So Rashod Bateman, if you're down bad, if you're in one of these crazy 16-team leagues, if you're in one of these crazy 3 wide receiver, 2 flex leagues, you could do a lot worse than Rashod Bateman in the flex. Now, let's talk about our streamers this week. And I will say at the top here, I forgot. Let me know. Next week, do you guys want kicker and defense streamers? I will be honest. It's not my specialty. You guys know. Like, I'll get these questions asked in the offseason where it's like, Ron, what kicker do you like? Like, I don't even do kicker rankings or defense rankings, but I could get in my stats bag and kind of look up a couple defense kickers that make sense, maybe, that are available in a bunch of ESPN leagues. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll do one or the other next week just to kind of feel it out, just to dip my toe in the water of the defense kicker game. But this tight end streamer, and I love him. I love Cade Otton to score a touchdown this week. Now, me and Consensus are on the same page. Tight end 23. So he's not anything crazy, but I might even raise him higher than tight end 23. Like, let me look at my tight end rankings right now. I might, on the fly here, like, I'm moving him up. You know what? I'm moving him up live on air. I'm moving him up to tight end 19. That'll be +4 spots higher than consensus. And that'll be reflected on the Patreon once the Sunday update goes live. I really like Cade Otton this week. He's at home versus the Jets, so in Tampa Bay. Here's the stat. Otton has averaged 12.9 points per game at home since 2024, compared to just 6.5 points on the road. Available in over 85% of ESPN leagues, he now gets the Jets in Tampa, a defense allowing the 9th most fantasy points at tight ends. With Igbuka banged up, Otton's target share could expand as somebody who is 3rd in route percentage among tight ends, but has just a 9% target share. I was shocked when I looked this up, but I kind of just looked at his game logs from last year, and I was like, man, he's actually a lot better at home than on the road, and that's been the case this year, where he's been bad, but the Bucs have opened the season with 2 road games. So don't be shocked when Cade Otton, with no gloves and only tape around his knuckles or whatever he runs out there, scores a touchdown. Like, I love Cade Otton to give the Jets like 3 for 40 and a touchdown. I really do think that is in play for Cade Otton. Running the 3rd amount of routes among tight ends is a really big deal. Like, that is almost everything at tight end, and I think targets will be coming his way very soon. Then our quarterback streamer of the week is Sam Darnold. I'll give an honorable mention to Marcus Mariota. I know that Jaden Daniels went down. I was tempted to do it, but the Raiders are kind of no joke. The Raiders defense is not fun to play against, and they have been really good against rushing quarterbacks. Like, Herbert didn't really rush that much last week. Like, he did from a tendency standpoint, but I don't think that he cleared like 30 rushing yards. And then Drake May, like 11 rushing yards versus the Raiders in week 1. So Mariota's a little bit shaky. I would prefer Sam Darnold here, which I'm sure is going to be a question for a lot of Jaden Daniels owners, where it's like, would you rather Mariota or Darnold? For me, I'd rather Darnold. But Darnold is my QB20 this week. He's my streamer of the week at home versus New Orleans. And here's the stat. He is available in 92.4% of ESPN leagues. I have Darnold as a fine streamer this week. Seattle is projected for the 6th most points this week, despite Seattle ranking just 17th in scoring on the season. The environment is sneaky. New Orleans leads the NFL in neutral pace and is second in no-huddle rate, with their games averaging 132.5 combined snaps. Via established the run from Pat Thorman's Snaps and Pace article every week. Really, really good article he does. That is over 5 more than last year's fastest team. So over these last 2 weeks, the Saints have averaged between their snaps on offense and snaps on defense, such as overall pace of play, 132.5 combined snaps, over 5 more than the fastest team last year. The Saints are also allowing the 8th most quarterback fantasy points, setting up Darnold for an underrated explosion spot. I also think because Zach Charbonnet is doubtful, yes, they're going to want to use Kenneth Walker, but it also might make them not pass happy. Like, they're still going to run the ball plenty, but they don't want to give Kenneth Walker 30 carries. So this might be a game where they actually pass the ball more than you would expect versus the Saints in a game where they're supposed to score a lot of points. So I actually really like Sam Darnold in this matchup, but that is going to do it for us today. 7 sneaky starts and stats. One of my favorite videos of the week, to be honest. It's fun to just hop on here, talk about some nerdy stuff. And you guys know me. Instead of the, like, you know, I can talk through the top 40 wide receivers, but it's tough, dude. It's tough. There's just no way that I can actually get, you know, I'm trying to get in there. And, you know, look at the stats, give you a rhyme or reason for why you should play these players. So that is going to do it for us today. That is our 7 sneaky starts and stats for week 3 of the fantasy football season. We'll have these videos out every Friday afternoon, evening area. So make sure you guys are subscribed. Leave a like. I think we just hit 70K as well. So thank you guys so much for that. And I will see you guys in the next one.
Stones, like this froze, ice cold, oh, oh.